All right, guys, this is what I'm listening to this week. I guess this is the album of the week for now. I've been kind of waiting for this one to show up on a reissue. It is Mother Love Bone's Apple, their only album that they ever made. It kind of adds to the lore of Pearl Jam and, of course, Temple of the Dog, which was the tribute to Andy Wood after he passed away. And looking at this album cover kind of brought back a lot of memories for me as a kid listening to Pearl Jam when it first came out and, the Soundgarden records and all that. This stuff like wasn't popular when it came out, like this kind of music specifically. Mother Love Bone was more, I wouldn't call him glammy. I listened to this album when it came in the mail today for the first time in its entirety in quite a while, and I forgot how awesome the Mother Love Bone record is. I mean, it's sequenced perfectly. There's a lot of really good songs, and they just did a really good job creating this album. So that was eye-opening for me. But again, it brought back a lot of memories just thinking about when I first heard the Temple of the Dog record, which was a tribute to, somebody who at the time wasn't famous or well known outside of the Pacific Northwest. And I was a teenager in Ohio. And who was this Andrew Wood character? And, there's a little story on the inside of the Temple of the Dog record, which explains it a little bit. It's a little cryptic, but it added to the lore of the Seattle scene. All these albums were, and what I mean, Temple of the Dog, Mother Love Bone, the first Pearl Jam were all released on major labels. But back then, it didn't really mean that, the expectation was that these bands were going to blow up. I mean, the 90s just came in, and as soon as Nirvana released Nevermind, it changed the whole landscape of music. For the people that weren't there, it might be a little hard to understand what happened. But, before Nirvana exploded on the scene, there was Mother Love Bone and Soundgarden, and which became Pearl Jam later. But none of this music was like super popular or famous at the time. So I guess that's sadly the role of this Mother Love Bone record and what it played in the future careers for Pearl Jam and Chris Cornell and all those guys. So great record, man. Great record. In the streaming world, I haven't listened to the full album in its entirety in a little while, probably a couple years, but I listen to individual songs when they pop on the playlist and they're amazing. But going back and again listening to it from front to back, really awesome album. I kind of often think about it because stylistically, it probably wouldn't have been super popular in the 90s. It's hard to say, but one could argue that the songs were strong enough to propel, Mother Love Bone into stardom. It probably would have taken a couple records. And this is just speculation. If they would have been allowed to make three or four albums, who knows what would have came of Andrew Wood as he developed his songwriting talent. Super talented kid. I mean, he was 24 when he passed, but he was already writing some pretty, advanced music. And I think one of my favorites on this is Crown of Thorns, of course, and then, Stardog Champion, Bone Shine is great, and Stargazer are probably my favorite on here. But produced by Terry Date, the now legendary Terry Date, who did Soundgarden and Pantera and a host of other bands in the 90s. But yeah, man, it still sounds great. This vinyl reissue from Mother Love Bone, I got it on Amazon. I looked on Pearl Jam's website. They were also selling it, but it's sold out there currently. Maybe they'll get some back later. Look on Amazon if you guys can't find it in your local record store. It's a remaster. It's on Eco Vinyl. It's on 180 gram, and it does sound amazing. I've always kind of been cautious of buying this record on vinyl because I've never seen a really good copy. I'm glad they finally reissued it on vinyl in a proper remaster. So sounds great, looks great. If you guys are interested in the story of the album cover itself, on my previous podcast, I did talk to Lance Mercer, the photographer that did this photo shoot for Apple. He really talked about it in depth and a really cool story about how they came to achieve this photo for the Mother Love Bone Apple album cover. So check it out. I'll leave it in the show notes, and you guys can listen to that Lance Mercer interview I did just number of years ago, probably about 5 or 6 now. So Lance was, Seattle guy, photographer. He did a lot of those famous photos of Pearl Jam and Mother Love Bone and Soundgarden and all those guys. So again, I'll leave that in the show notes below. That's all I got for now. Check out Mother Love Bone's Apple if you guys are not hip. It's been covered over and over, so it's pretty famous now. think this album sold about 1 million copies, if I'm not mistaken. So great album, man. Go check it out. Rest in peace to Andrew Wood, Jeff and Stone. You're legends, man. Legends forever. And that's all I got, guys. Take it easy.